We eventually began to discuss having children. We planned to relocate to the San Diego area where I could find electrical work and go to law school at night. In October 1985, Dara, our first daughter, was born. In the winter of 1986 to 1987, while living near Oceanside, California, and upon learning Kathy was pregnant with twins, I offered to postpone my law study plans and to temporarily move to Virginia for up to 1 to 2 years, not out of necessity, but so that Kathy could be near her parents, with the following conditions. Number 1, that we would return with the children to California within 1 to 2 years. And number 2, that Kathy's parents would honor our intent to raise the children as vegetarians. I had been vegetarian since 1974, and she became one before marrying me. Kathy agreed and promised both conditions. April 3rd, 1987, our twins were born, son Carl and second daughter Erin. We temporarily moved to Virginia as agreed. On August 25th, 1987, I was injured on the job while working as an electrician in Norfolk, Virginia, and underwent 3 surgical procedures to my hand due to 2 unsuccessful tendon grafts between the time of injury and February 1988. Due to inability to predict the strength of the tendon graft, I was medically proscribed from further work as an electrician. In the fall of 1987, problems began approximately 6 months after we had moved from California. We established residency in Virginia and became subject to its court jurisdiction. In hindsight, I'm sure Kathy was aware of this fact. Due to a severed tendon and nerves in my hand, it was a long healing process. I received workers' comp at 2/3 income during rehabilitation and had to wear a dynamic splint on my left hand for about 8 months while caring for 2 infants and a toddler at home. I was basically a Mr. Mom. Kathy became increasingly nagging and quarrelsome and acted as if I was a derelict for not working. I needed to retrain. She could not deal with my temporary income setback. December 31st, 1987, slander begins. After an obvious attempt to provoke me, out of curiosity, I noticed that Kathy had removed her handgun from where we kept it. It was her gun, but I realized that what she was doing. She was trying to imply I was dangerous in order to seek grounds for custody. I had never owned a gun in my life until I met Kathy. She had been married to a Marine who was a grunt before me in the recon, and she'd been around guns quite a bit. So we used to go shoot a bit while we lived in California. But I'd never harmed anybody with anything, much less a gun. So this was just, she was checking her, she was making absolutely sure that I wouldn't really seriously hurt her. She just obviously was just trying to get me to push or strike her. Just trying to provoke me into anger. The first desertion occurred in February 1988. Kathy stabbed me in the back, so to speak. She pretended I was a threat, falsely claimed to have legal custody of the kids. While I visited with relatives and friends in North Carolina for the first times since we moved from California, I lived in Winston-Salem, North Carolina from the 5th grade up through high school, and a few years thereafter went to 2 years of college in North Carolina also. So I went, for the first time, I'd been back in several years, to the East Coast. I went to North Carolina, and I get a call from Kathy that she had moved out of our co-op townhouse and moved in with her parents in Hampton, Virginia, and was acting as if I was a threat to her safety. She was pretending. Falsely claimed to have legal custody of the kids. I believed her. I didn't know anything about the court system, what she could do. March 1988, slander. While being forced to visit my kids at my in-laws' house, Kathy's mother slanderously accused me of being careless about leaving the twins in the living room while I went outside with Dara, the older daughter. But she was present in the kitchen right next to the living room, and I had informed her I was stepping outside. Kathy and her parents were obviously conspiring to steal the children from me by false accusations. March 10th, 1988, Virginia holds my children hostage. Kathy and the kids moved back into our townhouse after I was forced to sign a pre-separation contract under duress in order to be able to get my kids back in the house. This was done with a Newport News mediator. I thought it was all part of the legal process of mediation. August 16th, 1988. It's at the same time, following the accident, my former employer was trying to get out of their insurance payments to me for the accident on the job, and they were also accusing me of being a slacker, that I was incompetent on a job, but they had created the job for me. It was a light duty job, so they could claim whatever they wanted. Anyway, the Virginia Employment Commission found me without fault for termination from a created light duty job with the employer at the time of my injury. They had attempted to avoid the responsibility by slandering me. They falsely accused me of slackness and incompetence. Fall of 1988, we attempted to reconcile, save the marriage. I did anyway. Even though our first priority should have been my retraining, and since I thought we had reconciled our relationship, I agreed to support Kathy entering a full-time college program after she affirmed our agreement to return to California. I at least was trying to save the marriage. October 21st, 1988, I enrolled in the ICS Paralegal School to study at home while taking care of the children. December 10th, 1988, Kathy revealed her intent to dictate my life by exploiting the corrupt court system. In hindsight, I can tell. I didn't know what was going on then, but she revealed she did not intend to honor our agreement to return to California. I put the agreement into writing. She refused to sign this writing, but authored her own version, admitting that the basic elements were true. She added new conditions citing marriage deterioration and insufficient funds to return to California. She caused the marriage to deteriorate, however, and contributed to lack of money by going to school full-time rather than working full-time as an electronics instructor, which would have helped me produce income much sooner. I was trying to please her by letting her go to school, but in doing so, she used that fact against me and prevented me from retraining myself sooner. In December 1988, also through January 1989, more lies and slander. Kathy consulted with the Battered Women and Crisis Center, Newport News protective agencies, and claimed I was attempting to force her to sign my agreement. But she had already admitted to it in writing. I still have copies of the originals that she signed.